Good evening, friends. It's my pleasure to present the Interim Union Budget 2019 proposals to the members of LAJA, a forum for women, set up by women, and all of them working with the single aim of empowering more women and making them become better versions of themselves. As I understand, the forum strives to make an impact and improvement in the lives of women around us. My best wishes to the founder and Team Lacha for their contribution in building up a society where both genders are treated equally. In my session today, before I begin with my session, just a quick introduction. I'm Devang Ambavi, a chartered accountant by profession. I'm a proprietor of a firm called Ambavi Associates, and I'm based in Mumbai. So in my session today, I will discuss key interim Union Budget 2019 proposals, which were presented by our interim finance minister yesterday in the parliament. To begin with, let me touch upon why this year's budget is titled as an interim budget. As the word interim suggests, it is a provisional budget. And as you know, general elections are likely to be scheduled in the next couple of months. Post the election result, once the new government is formed and respective ministers take charge, the new finance minister will present a full-fledged Union Budget 2019. This full-fledged budget could be presented before the Parliament, possibly in the month of May or June of this year. Because of this reason, this budget is titled as an interim budget. So let's go through some of the key policy level initiatives which were taken by our present government. What has been the result of such policy initiatives, and what are the new initiatives which they intend to take in the coming year. The purpose of some of the initiatives was not only women's development, but women-led development. One such scheme which comes to my mind is Ujjwala scheme, which was set up by our government, which helps poor women to free themselves from the smoke of wood. Under this scheme, 8 crore free LPG connections will be provided to women in India. Out of the 8 crore LPG connections, more than 6 crore connections have already been provided, and the remaining connections will be given during this year. This scheme helps in securing the health of every homemaker in rural areas. Second such scheme, which has been equally successful, is Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, where women get affordable and collateral interest-free loans to start their own businesses. Under Mudra Yojana, 15.56 crores loans disbursed, and such loans are amounting to aggregate rupees 7,23,000 crores. This goes to show that the level of funding which has gone to this initiative, which specifically promotes women empowerment. Amongst other measures, benefits of maternity leave of 26 weeks and Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana for pregnant women have provided financial support for women as well as empowering them to participate in work. Another important policy level initiative the present government has launched is Swachh Bharat Mission. This mission is a tribute to Mahatma Gandhi's 150th birthday anniversary, which is in October of this year. It is a moment of pride for me to state that Swachh Bharat Mission is world's largest behavioral change movement. With this mission, India has achieved 98% rural sanitation coverage, and as many as 5,45,000 villages have been declared open defecation free. The positive effect of this mission is being seen on the dignity of women, education of girls, and overall health of the family. Furthermore, in the healthcare sector, another important initiative which was launched last year and has been great success is the healthcare program, which is Ayushman Bharat. It provides medical treatment to nearly 50 crore people. Already close to 10 lakh patients have been benefited for medical treatment under this scheme. In addition to this scheme, lakhs of poor and middle class people are also benefiting from reduction in the prices of essential medicines, cardiac stents, and knee implants. The scheme also provides medicines at an affordable prices to the people at large. Further, to promote rural economy, the government has provided an assured income support to small and marginal farmers. the government has launched an historic program, namely Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. Under this program, vulnerable land-holding farmer families having cultivable land up to 2 hectares will be provided direct income support of rupees 6,000 per year. This income support will be transferred directly into the bank accounts of the beneficiaries in 3 equal installments of 2,000 each. The first installment for the period up to 31st March 2019 would be paid during this year itself. This program will entail an annual expenditure of 75,000 crores to the government. Since yesterday, a lot has been debated about this initiative of the government. Example, is rupees 6,000 a year, which on per day basis amounts to 17, is enough for a small farmer and his family? In my view, instead of assessing whether the scheme provides rupees 17 per day to the farmer, I would look at the positive side of the scheme, that it provides an assured supplemental income to the most vulnerable farmer families. Also, this is the first such scheme launched by the government, and one would expect that the amount which is set aside of 75,000 crores would eventually help the farmer meet his daily necessities and should boost rural consumption and demand. Thus, in a way, it immediately brings back 75,000 crores back into the financial ecosystem of the country. Another new initiative which is proposed in this interim budget is the Mega Pension Yojana, namely Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Manthan. This scheme is launched specifically for the unorganized sector workers with monthly income up to 15,000. This pension shall provide them an assured monthly pension of rupees 3,000 from the age of 60 years, provided they make a monthly contribution of a small affordable amount during their working age. This is a step which provides social security measures to our countrymen, a phenomenon which was prevailing only in Western and European countries. With this scheme in place, India has now the largest health coverage scheme under Ayushman Bharat, life coverage under Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, disability/accidental coverage under Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, and now the pension scheme under Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Manthan. In long term, I would think these steps would help to create a better state of living for rural India. Moving on, with an intent to bring transparency in the real estate sector, this government enacted the Real Estate Regulation and Development Act 2016, which is we commonly known as RERA. RERA regulates transactions both to residential and commercial projects. If the project exceeds the prescribed limit, the developer is required to register under the RERA Act. And in the registration process, he is required to provide details about his project to the government. The details about this project is all available on the RERA website. So viewers, if you're looking to purchase a house, make sure to assess the details about the project on the RERA website. The details would include about the project plan and expected date of completion. The RERA Act, in a way, prohibits unaccounted money being pumped into the sector and ensures advances collected from the home buyers and the investors are used specifically for the project. Moving on, let me briefly discuss the initiatives taken by the present government on taxation matters, and thereafter I will also discuss the tax proposals which were presented by the Finance Minister yesterday. I say it with a matter of pride that for the first time in my professional career, I have heard a Finance Minister, while presenting a finance bill, he thanked the honest taxpayers of the country. He went on to assure that the money contributed by the taxpayers was used to serve the poor and create better infrastructure in the country. I believe this indicates a change in mindset of the government and hopefully that of tax administrators, where a honest taxpayer is respected. Moving on, in the last few years, there's been a drastic change in a way where income tax department functions. So give you an example, the income tax returns now are filed online, the income tax returns are processed online, the tax refunds are issued online, and very recently, scrutiny assessments have been conducted online. To share some of the numbers which were provided in this interim budget, last year 99.54% of the income tax returns were accepted as they were filed, which means only 0.46% returns so far have been picked up for the scrutiny. This is a very interesting statistic to me, and if the trend continues in the years to come, this will completely change the way the tax litigations are handled currently. A substantial amount of time, energy, and money is spent on managing tax litigations every year. This includes not only efforts of the taxpayers, but also that of Income Tax Department. In the subsequent years, if a fewer cases are picked for scrutiny, this will result in very few cases being dragged into the court of law for onward litigation. And if the trend continues, I would believe this would help Income Tax Department to plan their resources in an efficient manner. Example, the tax data which is currently being collected or transactions of the taxpayers from various intermediaries, financial institutions, and under FATCA and CRS regime could be used to pick up scrutiny cases where there appears to be non-compliance. In all, I would think this will help the government to focus their resources towards cases where there is non-compliant by the taxpayers. From the view of the taxpayers, like individuals like you and me, these initiatives remind us that the tax filings and disclosures have to be correct and accurate. It also reinforces confidence of our honest taxpayer towards the government and gives him the much needed peace of mind in this digital era. Another important initiative which the government is working towards is processing of income tax return within 24 hours. Imagine if you file your return on a Thursday and on Friday you get a refund from the Income Tax Department. This would give higher disposable income for the weekend which follows after you file your tax return. And from government's perspective, this will reduce their overall interest expense, which currently they have to pay when refunds are processed. So in a way, it helps taxpayers get his refunds quickly, and it helps government to reduce their interest bill on the refunds. Another important initiative which this government took is enactment of GST legislation. Financial year 18-19, we saw one complete financial year of GST implementation. To me, GST is the biggest taxation reform undertaken by India since independence. And you would note that as the law has evolved, the government has been active to propose changes which have been suggested by various associations and GST dealers. Many of the changes were proposed earlier this month, and hence, as expected, no changes were proposed in the interim budget related to GST. Moving on, the interim budget has made certain changes from an income tax standpoint, which reduces the tax burden of taxpayers, especially middle class and salary earners. While no change have been made in the slab rates, there has been a provision where a rebate has been provided for taxpayers whose annual taxable income is up to rupees 5 lakhs. Under the current regime, income up to 2,50,000 rupees is fully exempt. Thereafter, income from 2,50,000 up to 5 lakhs is taxed at a rate of 5%. In this budget, what has been proposed is where a taxable income of a taxpayer is up to 5 lakh, he is not required to pay any further tax and a rebate has been provided to him. Let me explain you with the help of an example. In this case, we've assumed a taxpayer who was a salaried and he derives income from bank FDs, like interest income on bank FDs. So assuming his income from salary is at rupees 5,50,000, his income from other sources, which would include interest income from fixed deposit or post office, assuming such interest is at 75,000, the gross total income of the taxpayer would be 6,25,000. From this gross total income, a taxpayer is eligible to claim deductions subject to he making investment in specified schemes such as contribution to public provident fund, payment of life insurance premium, or investment in tax mutual fund scheme. Such an deduction, investment in these schemes is available, deduction is available under section 80C, and this deduction is capped as 1,50,000. So even if a taxpayer has contributed aggregate contribution towards PPF, LIC and tax saving mutual fund is say 2 lakhs, the deduction would still be capped at 1,50,000. Similarly, if a taxpayer makes payment towards health insurance premium, he would also be eligible to claim deduction under section 80D. Assuming he makes contribution towards health insurance of 15,000, his total deduction is 1,65,000. This 1,65,000 is reduced from the gross total income of 6,25,000, and the amount which is arrived is titled as taxable income. The taxable income in this case arrives at 4,60,000. So till financial year 17-18, income tax would have been levied at the rate of 5% on 2,10,000, which is the difference of 4,60,000 plus 2,50,000. From financial year 19-20 onwards, the tax payable by such a taxpayer will be nil. So if your taxable income is up to 5 lakh, you get an additional rebate. But if your taxable income is more than 5 lakh, then the existing income tax slabs will continue. Moving on to other amendments. For salaried taxpayers, the standard deduction, which last year was 40,000 rupees, has been proposed to increase to 50,000. This gives a marginal relief for salaried people. Assuming a salaried people is on third slab, would give a tax relief of rupees 3,000 on per annum basis. Prescribed monetary threshold for TDS on interest from bank and post office has been proposed to be increased from 10,000 to 40,000 rupees. This amendment should help a large number of taxpayers in India. Currently, such interest is subject to TDS, and the taxpayers have to necessarily file income tax return to claim the refund of the TDS so deducted. The bank would deduct a TDS in cases where the taxpayers have not filed Form 15G or 15H. Going forward, interest paid up to rupees 40,000 will no longer be subject to TDS. This limit is applicable at each bank level, which means taxpayers would have fixed deposit with multiple banks, and as long as the interest from each bank is less than 40,000 rupees, no TDS will be deducted by any of the bank. The resulted question which arises, if there is no TDS which is deducted, can a taxpayer take a position of not filing the tax return at all? In my view, this is an area where the taxpayers have to be very cautious, and it would be advisable to seek a professional advice and assess whether he or she is required to file any tax return. Moving on, I would like to discuss two important amendments related to real estate sector. Both put together should boost real estate investment in the coming years. The Finance Minister has proposed relief for owners of more than one house. Currently, under the Income Tax Act, if a person has two residential houses, the second house is subject to tax on deeming income basis. The deeming income law assumes notional income on the second house held by the taxpayer. Such notional income is computed even if the house is not let out on rent. The notional income is then added back to the total income of the taxpayer. In this budget, from 1st April 2019, it is proposed that no such notional income will be included in the total income of the taxpayer. I would think this would help the taxpayers, help the taxpayers in buying an additional house, especially where they would evaluate whether the notional income on a second house is comparatively higher compared to the lease rentals they would pay on a second house or a weekend home. Another amendment, in continuation to this, on the flip side, if the aggregate deduction of interest on loan taken on the second house will now be capped at 2 lakh rupees. In the earlier law, there was no such deduction which was applicable. Another amendment is proposed is to relax capital gain exemption on a sale of residential house. Under the current provision, when a taxpayer sells a residential house and the sales proceeds are invested to buy another residential house, the capital gains so derived are not taxable. However, one of the conditions is that the gains should be invested to buy only one residential house. In this budget, the government has proposed to make an amendment whereby a taxpayer can use the sale proceeds of a residential house to buy two residential houses instead of one. This benefit is available provided the income or the capital gain does not exceed INR 2 crores, and this benefit is available only in once in lifetime opportunity for the taxpayer. The above provision would help in cases where a joint family decides to sell their existing house and they plan to use the proceeds to purchase two houses. There have been other tax proposals which impact corporate tax, like extension of tax holiday by 1 year for certain real estate projects, and no notional tax on rentals from property held as stock in trade for the period of 2 years. These amendments are likely to benefit the real estate sector and will have little impact from an individual tax standpoint. With this, I come towards the end of the update from my side, and I'm open to take up any questions which viewers has. So one of the question is, do let us know the benefits for women the Honorable Finance Minister has offered in this interim budget. So as far as the benefit is concerned, Ujjwala scheme, which would help rural women and would free them from the smoke generated from wood. That is one scheme which comes to my mind, which is important and would help women. Second important initiative, according to me, is Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, where women can get affordable and collateral interest-free loans. Third important initiative is the Swachh Bharat Mission, which, in my view, this mission helps in seeing dignity of the women. On the positive side, it also helps in education of girls and overall health of the family. Besides, the initiatives which were taken keeping in mind the rural population would also help the rural women of India. The second question is, how is this budget welcomed by the common man? To be honest, this budget has been kept in mind the rural population. The benefit and the impact will, on a percentage wise, will be largely for the rural India, and in a way may also have an impact on the upcoming general elections. Second comment is that fast return system is introduced is incredible. To share a feedback, it will indeed be incredible if the income tax refunds are processed within 24 hours. I don't know if internationally there are other countries who process the refund so fast, but if India could do that, it will definitely create a tax-friendly environment. Specifically for women entrepreneurs, as I stated, this is an interim budget. It is not a full-fledged budget. So the government has tactfully introduced measures which helps a larger population of India. So I would wait and watch until a new government is formed, and would also look at the full-fledged budget which may be presented in May or June of this year. Another question is, will the benefit of rupees 5 lakh exemption will be available to all taxpayers? As I said, this benefit is available only where the taxable income is up to 5 lakhs, and where the taxpayer's income is more than 5 lakhs, the existing slab rates to continue. Which, in other words, there is no tax benefit for an individual whose taxable income is more than rupees 5 lakhs, unless he's a salaried individual, where he gets an additional deduction of rupees 10,000. Dhanashri Dhanvat Kadam, she's writing, a clause is mentioned that income up to 5 lakhs is not taxable, but also news is going on that income between 2 lakhs and 5 lakhs should be filed. Can you go through some light? Yes, the question is whether, if you're in my example, let's say the income is 4,60,000, whether a taxpayer should file a tax return or not. In my personal view, the government has introduced a rebate. It's not a blanket exemption. A rebate has been provided, and whenever you have provisions dealing with rebate or reduction, it is important that the taxpayer makes full disclosures about the deductions claimed and about the rebate claimed. So, to answer your question in simple words, I would advise the taxpayer to file a tax return even if the tax liability is zero and his income is more than, and if his income is more than rupees 2.5 lakhs. With this, I come to an end to the session. To conclude, as I said, the interim union budget 2019 focuses on strengthening agriculture and rural economy. As I said, some of the budget proposals will have an impact on larger rural population and could also have an impact in the upcoming general elections. Having said that, there are still series of steps, I think, which the government has to take, specifically if the government intends for women upliftment and women-led development. One such initiative to promote women-led development, which comes to my mind, is to promote women to join back the workforce post-maternity leave. Statistics suggest a large number of women workforce discontinue their employment or discontinue their business post-maternity leave. This list of workforce includes women with professional qualification and women entrepreneurs engaging in skilled operations. I would think providing incentives to such women or providing tax incentives for companies who hire such women could be one of the measures government can introduce. And I would believe the government kind of looks at these suggestions closely and provides for amendments in the full-fledged budget, which may come later this year. On this thought, I end this session and once again would like to thank Team Lacha for inviting me to speak on Interim Union Budget 2019. If you have any further questions, please feel free to drop a message on my Facebook account and I'll be glad to answer it. Thank you again, viewers, for your time, and I hope I was able to provide you a perspective about the Interim Union Budget 2019. Thank you. Have a good evening.